Hi there, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to today's session for the College Preview Day. So today's session is going to be for the Electrical and Electronics Engineering Technology. So my name is Colin Eagers. I'm one of the International Affairs Coordinators here at NBCC. Really happy to be here today, get everyone really excited for the upcoming academic year. I was in your guys' shoes not too long ago as a student myself going through the College Preview Day session. We'd love for it to be in person, but we know with the pandemic, we're doing what we can. So here we are virtually. So Dan has a really nice presentation set up for you, so we'll be able to go through that in a bit. So I am joined here with my colleague, Dan Hubert. He is the academic chair for engineering technologies. You want to say hi, Dan?
Good evening, everybody. Assuming it's evening in some of your locations, maybe not so.
Yeah, that's it. Looks like we got some participation from all around the world, so that's really nice to see.
Perfect.
So yeah, today's session is going to be recorded. So if you do want to go back and take a look at some of these answers or anything like that, you can come back. It will be posted on our website on the landing page next week. And as well, just a couple housekeeping items before we get started. If you have any questions throughout this webinar, feel free to put it in the group chat or the chat feature. I'll be going through those, and I might answer some in real time, or I might save them for the end and maybe ask Dan a few questions. So yeah, so that's pretty much it from my end. Yeah, I'll hand things over to Dan, and he'll tell you a little bit more about what to expect for your program and get you really excited for the fall.
Perfect. Thanks, Colin. So welcome, everybody. As Colin mentioned, my name is Dan Hubert. I'm the Academic Chair of Engineering Technologies, responsible for the Electrical and Electronics Engineering Technology programs at NBCC. As some of you may be aware, those programs are offered at two campuses, so either the St. John campus or the Moncton campus. So this evening I've prepared a presentation for you where we'll go through some of the elements that are relevant to your program of choice, and just give you some information to help you along your way as you consider coming to NBCC in September. I know a lot of you have already accepted and committed to coming, which is fantastic. And really the goal today is to give you some additional information and to answer any questions that you may have. So we'll jump right into the presentation here. Start that up. Perfect. So again, welcome to the College Preview Day for the Electrical and Electronics Engineering Technology programs. So today's presentation is going to look at two different program areas, so the Electrical Engineering Technology and the Electronics Engineering Technology. Depending on which program you've selected and which pathway, you could be going either to the St. John campus or the Moncton campus. So if you're in electrical engineering and you have chosen to follow the power distribution pathway, you'll be studying in St. John. If you've chosen the alternative energy systems pathway, then you'll be studying in Moncton. If you're an electronics student, if you've chosen communication systems, you'll be studying in St. John. And if you've chosen to study industrial controls, then that will be in Moncton. So there's a balance between the two campuses. Both program areas are offered at both campuses. What is different and unique at each campus is which pathway is offered at that campus based on the list that you see here in the presentation. In terms of the duration of the program, so this is a technologist level program, both the electrical and electronics engineering technology. So their duration is 2 years. And one thing that incoming students don't always realize is that we actually have 3 terms in each of the academic years. So 2 years of study actually means 6 terms of study. So what does that mean from an academic calendar perspective is that the 3 terms are broken up into fall, winter, and spring. So the fall term is from September to December. The winter term starts up after the holiday break from January to about mid-April. Both the fall and winter terms are approximately 14 to 15 weeks in duration. The final term of the academic year, the spring term, is shorter. It starts in mid-April and goes till June, and it's about 6 to 7 weeks. So in all, you'll have 6 full terms of study, and they're broken up into the fall and winter and spring terms. Okay, something that's important for you to consider and to know is that our engineering technology programs at NBCC are accredited. So we're currently in a transition in that our programs were accredited through the Canadian Technical Accreditation Board, or CTAB, previously. CTAB has now been absorbed, if you will, by a new accrediting body called TAC, Technology Accreditation Canada. So we are currently in the process of transferring our accreditations from CTAB over to TAC. What does that mean for you as a student coming into these programs? It means that you are going to be graduating from a program that has been reviewed by a third party, which ensures quality programming, something that we're very proud of at NBCC. Now I'll get into some of the details of what you'll actually be studying in these different program options. So for the electrical engineering technology power distribution, this is the program studied in St. John. You'll focus on the distribution of power in commercial and industrial settings, and that goes anywhere from utility service entrance all the way to those that use the energy at the end, so the final energy utilization devices. If you're wondering about, what courses will you be taking, I don't have an exhaustive list of the courses, but what I have here is kind of the general areas of study, if you will, for the electrical engineering technology power distribution. So you'll be studying building electrical systems, power systems analysis, protection systems, electrical power generation, rotating machines, motor controls, programmable logic controllers, electrical drafting and design, automation. You'll have some communications courses, which will focus on technical writing, math and statistics, project management, safety ethics, quality assurance. Computers and applications are interspersed in really the entire curriculum. And there's a senior technical project at the end of your studies as well. So you can see that it's a very well-rounded program with lots of very interesting areas of study. The second, or the other electrical engineering technology pathway that we offer is the alternative energy systems. So a little bit different than the power distribution. This particular program focuses on the production and control of sustainable energy sources, and that includes wind, solar, and geothermal heat pump study. In terms of areas of study for this program area, you'll see that there are some unique differences. There are some similarities, but some unique differences for this program in that there's study of the renewable energy sources, solar, wind, and geo. Common to the other program, building electrical systems, power systems analysis and protection, the electrical power generation, the rotating machines, PLCs, electrical drafting, power electronics. And again, some of the common areas really for all of our engineering technology programs, the technical writing, the math and stats, project management, safety ethics and qual, the computer applications, and senior technical project. So that kind of sums up the two electrical engineering technology pathways. Now we'll have a look at the two electronics engineering technology pathways, starting with industrial controls. So industrial controls offered in Moncton is all about installing, configuring, troubleshooting, specifying, operating, manufacturing of low power electronic systems all the way up through to some of the higher power electrical systems that you would find in an industrial setting. In terms of unique areas of study, you really get into power systems, the power electronics. You have the rotating electrical machines and controls, a really close look at sensors. You'll study microcontrollers and embedded systems, including a very unique Arduino course that our first year students right in the first term take, which is a course that students really love taking. Programmable logic controllers, you'll study electronic communications, also automation systems. Unique courses related to electronics, linear circuits and filters, data communications and networking. This is really a big area of growth for this sector. Energy storage devices, and then again, those core courses, the math, the project management, safety ethics, senior technical project, and technical writing. The second pathway that we offer for electronics engineering technology is communication systems. So this is offered at St. John campus, and its focus is on the production of wireless, digital, data, and or fiber optic communication systems. So fairly descriptive here in terms of what you'll be studying. In terms of area studies for this particular pathway, you'll study electronic communications, digital communications, sensors, microcontrollers and embedded systems, PLCs, automation systems, datacom and networking, and again, a common suite for electronics programs, linear circuits and filters, emerging engineering technologies, math and stats, project management, and again here, the final suite of common courses really for all of our engineering technology programs, safety ethics and qual, senior technical project, and technical writing. So those are just kind of a brief summary of what you'll be studying depending on which pathway or program that you've selected. A question that we get very often is around program transfers. So this slide is all about kind of explaining the transfer process, if you will, for our various programs. So the first type of transfer that we can look at is between electrical and electronics. So some students start in electrical engineering technology and will request to transfer into electronics, or some will start in electronics and ask to transfer into electrical. So that process is fairly simple. It's really just a form that needs to be filled out. Myself as academic chair, this form comes to me and I approve it as long as there's a seat available in the program that you wish to transfer to. Generally speaking, that's usually not a problem, but it is important to note that there has to be a seat available in the program that you wish to transfer to. From a timing perspective, though, it's really important to realize that the transfer has to occur in the first year of study. And if you're switching from electrical to electronics, that has to happen before the start of the third term in the first year. So that's that spring term in the first year. The curriculum is 100% the same for electrical and electronics engineering students for term 1 and term 2. But once you move into term 3, that third term in the first year, the electrical students take a specific set of courses and the electronic students take a specific set of courses. So it's very important that that transfer request happen before that. Another type of transfer that's possible is within your sector. If you are in electrical, let's say studying alternative energy systems in Moncton, and you would like to transfer to St. John to do the power distribution pathway within electrical engineering technology, then that transfer can actually occur after the third term because you will have studied that common third term for electrical engineering technology. The same can be said for transfers in electronics as well. So if you are studying communication systems in St. John, which is electronics, and you want to take industrial control in Moncton, that type of transfer request can be submitted all the way up to the end of the third term because of the common third term for that program area. So I hope that answers any questions, and again, we'll field any additional questions that you may have as it relates to program or pathway option transfers. In terms of laptops, so it's important for you to realize coming to NBCC that you're expected to bring your own laptop. It's a requirement to study within our programs. And some of the questions that we get quite frequently are around the specifications for that computer. So in the EET sector, which includes electrical and electronics, they are fairly basic computer specs. But I will say this, it is important for you to have a machine or a laptop that meets these minimum specs. So these are simply a minimum. You can obviously have a machine or a laptop that exceeds these specifications. Having a machine that doesn't meet these specs will mean that you will have some trouble. So we often have students that will ask, well, is it okay if I have a machine that doesn't quite meet the specs? Well, we can't guarantee that all of the software that you will require to run during your studies will actually work effectively. So we highly, highly recommend that your machine meets at a minimum these specs. We often get a question about using Macs as well. So right down here at the bottom, although PC is recommended, you can use an Apple Macintosh computer, but you have to make sure that you have Boot Camp installed. And then on top of that, it has to have Windows 10 to enable the devices or the programs that you are going to be running in Windows 10. So it's very important if you are a Mac user that you have the boot camp. So hopefully that answers your questions as it relates to computer specs. I will also highlight that it's important for you to have a webcam, headphones, and a microphone. We really recommend having a headset. So for some of your classes that may be delivered virtually, it's very important to have some great hardware that will support that virtual classroom if that happens to be the case for you. A lot of our students have questions about employment prospects. So you've chosen to take electrical or electronics engineering technology, and I want to tell you that you've made a great choice. Why? Because electronics and electrical engineering technologists are really in high demand. At NBCC, we have a record of having great employment for our graduates. In fact, over 90% of our graduates will find work in the related field of study, and that's generally for all of NBCC's programs. But I would say in engineering, our percentage is probably a little bit higher than that, probably closer to 95%, because there is a shortage of engineering technologists in Canada as a whole. So that's great for your employment prospects. In terms of what type of employers you can expect that would hire from our programs, we have the power commissions, so New Brunswick Power, NB Power, St. John Energy, all of those types of power commissions, any types of telecommunications companies, the oil and gas sector, manufacturing, engineering consulting firms hire from our programs, and many other companies that frequently hire from our programs. Employers will start contacting us even in January before students graduate in June, wanting to meet with the prospective graduates that will be graduating in the near future, because there is such a tight competition to really hire the graduates that come out of our program. So there's a lot of great employment opportunities for you as a graduate from our NBCC EET programs. In terms of a career, like I've mentioned, engineering technologists as a whole are really in high demand. And one of the great things about graduating from an accredited program is that you'll be eligible for professional certification under the New Brunswick Society of Certified Engineering Technologists and Technicians, or very simple abbreviation here, we call it NBCET. So that means once you graduate and you become a member of NBCET, you become a technologist in training, and once you've met the required experiential learning that you will need to have, so a few years of experience that's documented, then you can use the professional designation P-Tech in New Brunswick. So that's a nice little bonus when you graduate from our EET programs, that you will be able to join a provincial certifying body and also be eligible to use the professional designations. So why NBCC is a great choice? So this is, we realize that, there's competition out there and there are other schools that offer similar programs. Why have you made a great choice in coming to NBCC? Number one, you will have a highly qualified faculty that have relevant industry experience. So all of our instructors have worked in industry before becoming instructors. Beyond that, for our instructors, we're really committed to our faculty, and our faculty receive training in terms of what we call our instructor development program. We call it IDP. So new faculty that come in will be provided with training, especially nowadays when you consider all of the educational technology that's being used. We do a really great job of training our faculty to be able to use those technologies. And I think that's one of the big NBCC advantages. The other is the fact that the industry has reviewed the curriculum that you'll be studying and that it meets accreditation standards. So I've referred to that already, but it is a really big plus in terms of coming to NBCC. And the last one is the hands-on learning. So that's really the key NBCC advantage, is when you come to NBCC, you will have, yes, some theory-based courses, absolutely, but we really have a strong focus on the hands-on learning. So you are going to be in the lab, you are going to be working with tools, you are going to be working with the technology. And those are the key skills that employers are really going to be excited about when you apply to their companies, because those are the skills that they are truly looking for. And they know when you've graduated from NBCC that you have these key skills to make yourself productive really day one with the company that will hire you. Just wanted to highlight a couple of project opportunities that we have within our School of Engineering Technology as a whole. Our electronics students this year are working on a CubeSat project, which is in collaboration with UNB, the University of New Brunswick. So we try to work with all kinds of different organizations to enhance the learning experience for our EET students. And I just wanted to highlight that this is an example of that. So this is actually, for those of you that aren't familiar with the CubeSat program, our students are actually working on a CubeSat. So it's actually a small scale satellite that will actually be launched in space. And from our NBCC St. John campus, we will be able to communicate with that satellite, which is really cool and really fascinating. Finally, excuse me, the last couple of slides are around COVID-19 and what that means for you and what does that mean for your experience at NBCC. So our delivery plan moving forward in the next academic year is really to strike a nice balance. So our fall 2021 academic delivery is all about balance, and it's going to have a blend of virtual delivery for theory-based courses, not all the theory-based courses though, just a portion of them, and also in-person theory and practical learning. All the practical learning has to happen in person. That's a must. But the theory-based training will happen in part virtually and in part in person. So what does that really mean to you? Well, you are always going to be connected with us. So we have the technology, we have the learning management system called Brightspace, which allows us to really work with our students. We use the same technology that we're using tonight, Microsoft Teams, to offer some of our classes. The plan is to have about 60 to 80% of your classes that will be delivered on campus. So that leaves the potential for 20 to 40% of some of your theory-based courses to be offered virtual. As I had stated before, all of the practical instruction is going to take place on campus, and that will be led by instructors right in your classrooms, shops, and labs. So that's our current plan as it relates to COVID-19. I will say something that's very exciting and new for us is that we've launched the opportunity for a virtual cohort in the EET program. Now, this is something that will depend on how many people actually state that they have an interest in the virtual cohort. So all of you should have received an email from our Dean, Jody Stringer Webb, with regards to the potential of this virtual cohort. So I thought it was important tonight to bring it to your attention in case you haven't heard about it. And really what we're saying is if there's enough demand, if we have enough students, we will have a virtual cohort. And that virtual cohort will remain virtual really just for the first term, the fall 2021 term. So what that means is that we will come up with a plan in terms of the sequence of delivery of our courses that you can study 100% virtually for that first term. Why are we offering this opportunity to our students? Because we have a lot of international students that have been accepted into our programs, but are in various stages of their visa approvals. So this is a way for us to mitigate some of the delays that could potentially happen in your visa applications. So this is really something that's geared really mostly to international students, but it's certainly open to domestic students as well. It will allow you to study 100% virtually, so you do not need to be in Canada for that first term. I will say, once we reach the winter term, the second term of the program, then you would absolutely have to be in Canada, because what we're doing is we're moving some of the in-person labs from the first term over into the second term to accommodate students that may have delays. So the virtual cohort will only be virtual for the fall term of 2021. Moving forward in the program, you would need to be in Canada to be able to do the in-person training. So I think that's a really exciting opportunity. We're excited about it. We're hoping that there will be, enough students for us to be able to do this. And I think it's a great option for those of you that have some concerns about potentially having some delays in your visa approval, obviously if you're an international student. So that's really all I had prepared for this evening. So I'll open up the floor for questions.
All right, great recap there, Dan. Very, very in-depth, but we do still have a few questions that did pop in here.
Sure, of course.
Just a couple came in just around the virtual delivery option.
Yeah.
So one student's just asking what was that email that came out. So it did come
Okay.
from Jody Stringer Webb. So she's the dean of the program. So if you didn't receive that email, maybe we'll just jot down your name here and make sure we send that out to you after this call. Just reading another one that's coming
Sure.
in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, do we have a date set in mind for when we're going to determine if it will have a virtual delivery or not?
I was speaking with the dean today, and she stated that a decision will be made this week by the end of this week in terms of if we will be offering that virtual cohort or not. So it will be very important if you have not received that communication and it's something that's of interest to you that you provide your information. Would you like them to communicate that with you, Colin? Is that how you'd like to proceed with that? For those that haven't received the email, or would you rather? How would you?
Yeah, maybe if they would maybe just loop back with you if you wouldn't mind.
Sure, absolutely.
Or
Okay.
even just leave it right in the chat and we can write down your name and make sure we send you an email afterwards.
Yeah, I'll put my email in the chat here. So feel free to send me an email if you haven't received that communication with regards to the virtual cohort. And I'll make sure to pass that along to the dean so that we have all of the, that we're aware of all of the people that are interested in that option.
Great. Yeah, it is a good option for students who are waiting for their visas. So we know that is an issue right now with a lot of the delayed processing time with IRCC. Just a few things to note on that for international students that I will just comment on is if you did not receive a decision yet from IRCC, we are encouraging students that if they are going to travel to Canada, you need to arrive by August 20th and have your isolation plan ready to go. We do have a page on our website that's dedicated to international students who will be traveling to Canada. So anything you need to know about that, so I'll just leave that in the chat right here. Yeah, so another question is it a guarantee that the class will be 60 to 80%, even if there's only a few students that will be staying in Moncton because of the whole traveling situation?
Yes, for sure. So, outside of the virtual cohort, which is the way that we are mitigating those students that, could potentially have some delays, there will be cohorts that will be on campus 60 to 80% of the time, both in Moncton and in St. John. Yes, for sure.
Okay.
Is there a question about the biomedical option, I think? Thought I saw.
Yes, that one did come in
Okay,
here.
yeah, so what happened to the biomedical program in St. John? So what happened with the biomed option is really a question of interest in the program. So unfortunately, we did not have a large interest in that particular program, and that's for a few years now. So what we've decided to do is just to run the one electronics pathway for this academic year to make sure that we have enough students in the cohort to support the resources that are required to offer the program.
Okay. We'll give you a few more minutes to write any questions you might
Yeah, of
have
course.
for that, or even if you want to just raise your hand, you can unmute and maybe chat with us in person as well. Just while we're waiting, I'll just touch on a few things for international students to consider. So if you are waiting for your visa, let's say you didn't receive a response prior to the program starting. So you can start the program if we are going to have the virtual delivery option. This is only if that's the case. You can start your program virtually. Just note that the last date that you can submit a refund for withdraw would be September 17th. So let's say, for example, that you didn't receive a decision up until the 17th. and you wish to proceed, and then you receive a visa denial, then you won't be able to continue your studies for your second term. So you won't be able to continue because it will be in-person delivery. So you can check on our refund policy. So up to the 17th for a full refund and October 1st for a 50% refund. So that's a little bit on that.
Mhm.
So yeah, a couple more questions did come in here, Dan. I know they're a little bit more technical on your end, if you wouldn't mind
Yeah,
taking
sure.
those.
Of course, yeah.
First
So
one
let's see.
is, does
Go ahead.
electrical engineering technology course at St. John campus provide campus job placement opportunities?
So if you're talking about upon graduation, if you're provided support from a placement perspective, we certainly work with our industry partners and we share any job opportunities that come up for our students. We have an alumni section even on our NBCC website where potential employers can put their career ads. So we certainly share those with students. In terms of campus job placements, I don't know if you mean working at the campus itself. But there are certainly, different bulletin boards and things like that on campus where some people could put, if it's just to find a part-time employment while you're in St. John, I can assure you that there's lots of part-time opportunities available for students in St. John and in Moncton. I will say this, and it's something to keep in mind. It's fine that our students, will seek part-time employment, and I can understand that for many of you, it may be a requirement for you to be able to study from a financial perspective. I would just be careful about balancing the part-time work and your studies at NBCC, knowing that the ET programs do require a fair bit of your time, and you do need to have some available time beyond your courses to complete the coursework and study. So I just want to put that caution out there. It's fine to work part-time, but just make sure that you keep a balance.
Great. And another question that came in is, how many hours do you expect to be in a class per day and on
Sure.
campus?
Yeah. So the 60 to 80% in person, when we look at a typical day, let's say, without taking into consideration virtual or in person, you are looking at a day of about 6 hours per day. So our day starts at 8:30. There's 4 hours of class in the morning, and there's a 2 to 3 hours of class in the afternoon, depending on how the schedule works out. The total per week is somewhere around 30 hours per week. So that, in terms of how that breaks down, we are going to try when we generate the schedules. Now that very soon we'll know if we're going to have a virtual cohort or not. We'll try to balance. If a student needs to come to the campus, that maybe might be for an entire day if possible, or worst case, what we would do is if you have a balance of some virtual delivery and some in-person labs on schedule in the same day, that will make some nice spaces available for you with a very reliable internet connection, a place for you to set up where you can tune in, if you will, to your virtual classes, although you may actually be at the campus itself.
So just a couple questions came in on like previous knowledge. So one is someone saying I don't have a lot of experience with electrical, and
Right.
someone saying the same thing about physics. So can you maybe touch on maybe some prior learning that might be needed?
Absolutely. So if you've been accepted into the program, then that means that you meet our minimum requirements for entrance into our program. So if you haven't studied physics before, as an example, it is something that we recommend, but really the requirement is that you have studied 2 science courses, one of which must be physics, chemistry, or biology. So if you haven't studied physics before, it's okay, because the very first term that you'll be studying with us, we have a basic physics course. Now, that being said, if for those that have done some physics before, obviously we'll make the transition to college a little bit easier if you're studying something that you may be already a little bit familiar with. But there's no expectation that you've studied physics before you come into the program. And what the second part of that question was?
Electrical.
Oh, the electrical. Yes, that's right. So the expectation is that you don't have prior knowledge of electricity. I mean, many of you will have, likely seen, some electricity and maybe some of the basic science courses that you may have studied previously in school. But really, the introductory circuits course that you'll have in the first term really starts with the basics of electricity, going right into, the atomic model and what's an electron, and really building you up from there. Now, if you've already studied some electricity before, obviously the learning curve will be a little bit easier early on in the program because some of the concepts will be familiar to you, and that's fine. But for those of you that haven't studied before, that's okay, because we understand what our entrance requirements are, and we know that it's very possible that someone may come in and have no prior knowledge of electricity.
Great. Yeah, that's a great recap. Just another question came in from an international student on what's the last date I can submit my visa approval. So as I mentioned, if we do the online cohort, you will need to have your visa approved and arrive prior to the second semester. So it'd be our winter start. So it'd be January. The beginning of January is when you would need to arrive for that. So if it's the case where you want to be here in person, and if you do need to defer your application, you can only defer your application if you receive a visa denial letter from IRCC, and that is required by September 7th. So if you try to submit a deferral request after that date, it will not be accepted, and you'll have to be withdrawn from the program. That's if it is an in-person study. So again, there will be more information coming from our dean later this week on if we will be doing that cohort virtually. So it'll be a lot easier to answer a lot of these questions once we know. But yeah, as always, as an international student, if you do have any further questions on that, you can email us at international@nbcc.ca. So another question is, are there any opportunities for internships or on campus at the Moncton campus for electrical engineering technology? So it might even be a good opportunity just to talk a little bit about work placements and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So as it relates to work practicums, there's really only one pathway that has a work practicum as part of the curriculum, and that's the Electrical Engineering Technology Power Distribution Program in St. John. It has a 3-week practicum in the final term of study in the spring of the second year. All of the other programs that we've talked about this evening do not have a work practicum element to that. As it relates to research assistants in labs, we'd love to have them, but we currently don't have research assistants in our labs. So our faculty are the people that will run the labs and lectures that you'll be studying. So we don't have research assistant positions for labs.
Another question was just around for electronics technology subjects. Is there any place online we can find more details on books or other learning materials?
Sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but we receive the book list and everything like that and the Brightspace login when we do the program registration. Right?
That's correct. That's correct. Yes. So basically early August is what we're looking at, right? So at that point, you'll receive a list of the books. So the books, it's obviously going to depend if you're a virtual cohort or not, and in person. We do order hard copies of our books that would be found at the St. John and Moncton campus bookstores, but a lot of our students do also order their books online once they're made aware of that list. So that list will be made available to you in August, and same will go for the schedule in terms of the actual days that you'll be studying, which courses you're studying on a daily basis.
Perfect. So I see a few students typing away right now.
Perfect.
But yeah, if there's any more questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or if you're comfortable being on camera or mic, feel free to raise your hand and we can chat there as well.
Yeah. So I see there's a question about, is there any place online to find more details about learning stuff? So I know we talked about the books. But you're right. The Arduino is part of our computer controlled devices course, which is in the first term of first year for the non-virtual cohort. The virtual cohort that will move to the winter term because it has a significant hands-on component to it. But there's a lot of great online resources for Arduino. There's different development kits that some of you could, if you really have a keen interest, it would be great for you to work with some of those Arduino kits ahead of time if that's something that you'd like to do for sure.
Yeah, so one question just popped in. Do we need physical copies of the books or can we use digital? Absolutely. It's a preference item for a lot of students. Like when I was a student, I used digital and hard copy. Sometimes you can even get secondhand books as a student as well. So that's why I had some hard copies as well as you can get the digital copies. Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that, Dan?
No, absolutely. It's really, we offer the books, but there's no obligation to buy physical copies of the book. If you can secure a virtual copy, that's fine. In some circumstances, there may be, for example, with the math books, there's some online tutorials and things that are part of the package. But if you buy the online package, you would have that login that you need to access some of the online tools that are available. So buying the virtual copy, the soft copy, or the hard copy would get you the license that you need for some of these other tools, for sure. See, there's a question about beginning the virtual classes from inside Canada. Colin, I don't know if you want to answer that. I want to make sure.
Yeah, absolutely. If you do have a valid study permit, you can prepare to travel to Canada. So we are recommending that students plan to travel in late July to early August, just to allow enough time for isolation prior to the school year to start. Again, a really good resource for all of that information would be on the page I just posted in the chat here. You can find more information there. As I mentioned, we are advising students, plan to be here for the fall, regardless if it is a virtual delivery or not. It's going to be a lot easier for you. But obviously we are providing that flexibility, as we do know that study permits are a little bit out of your control and our control. So just making sure we can be a little more accessible for some students this fall. All right, we'll leave it open here for a few more minutes as there are a couple questions to come in. Yeah, if you just want to cover the terms, Dan, maybe just on
Sure.
how that gets covered throughout the year.
Of course, yes. So as I'd mentioned in the presentation, we have 3 academic terms per year, and that over 2 years. So there's 6 terms of study in total. So if the website does say 2 terms, that it should really be 3 terms. I suspect that the website's correct and it says 3 terms, but we'll double check on that. But I can confirm absolutely your studies will be 3 terms per academic year.
Yeah, maybe I know there is one area that does say 2 terms. It's not the program. Right. It's in terms of the tuition payments.
Oh, I see.
So your tuition, the first term or first semester, that's when 50% of your tuition is due. And then in your second term is when you need to pay the remaining balance of your tuition. So that might be where the confusion was coming from for the 2 terms versus 3. Mm-hmm. For payment plans, we don't offer payment plans. We are encouraging students to be prepared to pay their finances. Like I said, you can do the payments in installments at any time that you want right now. But the first week, I believe it's September 10th is when the first term tuition is due. So that's 50% of your tuition. And then the first week of your second term. So that'll be the first week in January. All right, any more questions? Last call, last call. Maybe just while we're waiting, Dan, is there any cool projects or something that you really see students get really excited about, during their first year of study or even the first semester, just to give a little bit of a teaser to some students?
Oh, absolutely. So both for the electrical and electronics engineering students, we have, and I've already referred to it a few times, the computer controlled devices course, where it's really hands-on learning with the Arduino platform, embedded system platform. And students love that because it's project-based work. So there's opportunities for some 3D printing of some cool parts, and there's a nice innovative project that's part of that. So something that's really, really exciting right from the get-go. In fact, that course was designed specifically for that, to garner that excitement right in the first term.
That's great. It's always nice when you can really get right into it right away into your program. So that sounds
Yes.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just a quick recap on the payments. So it is the same process for your second year as well. So 50% in the first term and 50% in the second term. They're saying that you're not leaving any room for any more questions. You're answering everything perfect. So
Oh God,
we're
I'm gonna
doing
tell
our
my
job.
wife. Yeah, she'll be very impressed. Yeah. I am glad though that it was helpful for you. That's the whole purpose of having this session, so that we can answer those questions that you may have. So very happy to hear that we've been able to answer your questions.
Absolutely. So a question came in, does the college provide traveler support letter for fully virtual online study students too? So the program won't be a completely virtual online delivery. So it will still be a blended delivery program, just be the first semester. So that's something that you would still be able to proceed with. Again, just for a bit more of these details, you can always email us at international@nbcc.ca, and our immigration advisor will be able to look at your specific case and help you out a little bit further. So what I'll do is I'll drop our emails in the chat here just for any specific questions. So I'll leave one for domestic students as well as international students.
There's a good question there about the laptops. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll field that question about do we need to have any specific software in our laptop, such as AutoCAD for PLC programming, or will it not be necessary? So part of the fees that you pay at NBCC, there's a technology fee, and part of that tech fee is that we will provide the software tools that you require based on that tech fee. So once you arrive at NBCC, your instructors will guide you in terms of how to complete the installation of the software tools that you'll be using in class. So that's all taken care of as part of your technology fee.
Yeah,
No problem.
that was one of my favorite parts as a student. Get a brand new laptop, and then the next week get all this new software. So that was nice.
Yep.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up everything for a lot of the questions that we covered. As always, if you do have any more questions, feel free to email us at any time, and one of our recruitment members will be able to get back to you. And this session will be recorded, and as I mentioned, it'll be posted on the College Preview Day webpage next week. So if you did want to go back and rewatch some of the presentation that Dan provided, go over some more details or brag to your family and friends about check it out. This is what I'm going to be doing next year. That's something you can definitely do. So thank you very much, everyone, and stay safe.
Take care, everyone. Stay safe.